Oh, what's going on with you peoples? Papa Joe here. Getting loaded at the moment, so I ain't got a lot of time, but I ain't got a whole lot to say to speak of. I was having a conversation this morning. I told the individual that I was not a Democrat and I wasn't a Republican. I was a pissed off American. And he basically asked me to clarify what that was. So I did. Which, while I was driving over here, it made me get to thinking, and wondering how many of y'all don't realize the real definition of what a pissed off American is. You know, you've heard me say in different videos that both parties have got issues and are to blame for a lot of the problems that we have as a nation. As I explained to him, our politicians get doing nonsense, and once they've done it, they don't want to go back and correct any mistakes they've made. Two major mistakes off the top of my head that I can use to explain why I blame both sides. One of them is I used to be a prison guard. It was back in the late 80s, early 90s. More early 90s than late 80s. I did it for like 4 years. I met people in there that was locked up back in the 50s and 60s for having a joint, a simple joint, small bag of weed. No narcotics. We're not talking about needles and stuff. And they're still locked up, and they've been doing a good walk. Their time down's been good. They're not troublemakers. Decent folks. If you met them on the street, you'd probably be friends with them. But yeah, they're doing stupid 40 and 50-year sentences over a little bit of weed. And they're in there watching murderers and all kinds of a lot worse criminals go in and out and in and out. That needs to be fixed. Back in the 80s, I think it was, they decided that the mental hospitals was inhumane and out of control, whatever terminology they used at the time. But they decided to close down the mental hospitals. Now, their thinking was, as they explained to we the people, was that these people could get out of these mental hospitals, go back home, and their family and their community could take care of them better than the state could. That ain't happened. Now we have those people in the streets or locked up in jail. Once again, as a prison guard, I worked what we called 8 House. That was the psycho ward. That was where the mentally was locked up. Most of the time, these fellers were good people. However, these state doctors would get messing with their medicine, trying to save the state money, in my opinion. I don't know that. But they'd get changing their dosage and their medicine and everything else, and these boys would go off. And we would have an issue on our hands. Once they got them leveled back out, the majority of them was very apologetic. A lot of them didn't even know what they had done. But it was all due to the state messing with their meds. A lot of times, if they have a mental disorder, being locked up in a prison cell is one of the worst things you can do to them. It's a form of torture, in my opinion. Both of these issues is a bipartisan problem because it's a national problem that takes in affects all of us. It affects every race, every level of that they're trying to class, you know, but yet they don't want to resolve it. And unfortunately, most of the time, the government's solution is to tax you and me more and throw money at that problem. That's not going to fix the problem. The homeless around the country is just getting out of hand. And it ain't just California. California is one of the worst, but that's because they have the better weather. And if you're going to be homeless without shelter, you're going to want to go to Florida, New Orleans, California, places where it's warm. And right now, all the homeless is a talking point for both sides, both parties, for them to argue over. That's not going to resolve nothing. They're trying to use it right now for the election. It's a talking point for the election. Now, grant you, there are stuffs on both sides that I agree, disagree, blah, blah, blah. But my whole point is that those of us that ride down the middle, ride the fence, as they like to say, we have issues that both sides should be tackling. I don't know who was in control, who was the main party, majority, and all that back when they closed the hospitals. I know it didn't happen overnight, and I know that something went wrong. So they need to fix it. And it takes both sides. And that is the kind of stuff that makes me say I'm a pissed off American. I have watched both sides be in charge, both sides have the majority, and a whole lot don't get fixed. Now, I have become a Trump supporter because he seems to be attempting to fix some of the problems. Is he going to fix them all? No. He's kept the majority of his promises. Is he going to be able to keep them all? No. But he's trying to do something. So, just my thoughts on it. With that, they should be about done. They was on the ball here. Y'all remember, good Lord love you, and so do I. Y'all have a blessed day now. Bye.